Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome everyone to Office Hours here at Work It Daily. My name is JT O'Donnell. I'm the founder of Work It Daily. And this is Office Hours. If you've never been here before, this is where I answer your career questions here on YouTube in real time, live. So I'm going to give the stream a minute to catch up here. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to give everybody a big shout out to all of our existing members of Work It Daily. So glad to have you all here. I'm also going to give you some quick housekeeping, which is if you have a question for me today, you're going to put it in this chat. Here's what I want you to do. Put the word question in all caps first, then ask your question, not in all caps, just regular, so that you're not yelling at me. You're yelling the word question at me, and then you write your question. Because there's so much chat that goes on, so many people are talking back and forth that it's the easiest way for me to scroll through all these comments and answer your questions for you, all right? And again, I just want to remind you, there are no silly questions here. This is a really positive place. We're all here for the same reason, and that is to better understand how to take control of our careers, make smart decisions, feel empowered, feel successful, feel satisfied, right? So only good vibes, please. If you're here to troll or be snarky, go do it someplace else. I've got a moderator. They're going to block you because, again, we're here to be productive. One of my favorite things about doing this is that we spend so much time on social media these days. Admit it, right? I mean, a study came out last year that said people spend over an hour a day on Facebook in America. We all spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I love YouTube in terms of learning new things, watching things, but it can be a real time suck, and sometimes it's always not the most productive. So the good news is the time that you spend here with us on Work It Daily, you can pat yourself on the back because that's you investing in your professional development, and it is free. All it takes is your time, right? So, all right, great to have you here. So I am going to get started. So one of the questions actually we have here is from one of our new members. Hey, Ann, shout out to Ann. Ann saying, how do I submit my resume for review? So in case you're wondering, folks, if you've ever wondered what we do, we're not just a YouTube channel. Work It Daily is actually a career coaching company. We're a monthly subscription service, kind of like Netflix or the gym that you go to. And what you do is you subscribe to our site, you get access to all of our coaching videos and tutorials, like how to rewrite your resume. You get a template to rewrite your resume, but then you also get access to me and a team of trained coaches. And so what Ann's saying is, how do I submit my resume for review? Because that's what you do. Included in the price is you then send your resume to us and we go, Ann, this looks great. This doesn't, fix this, fix that, redo it, and send it back to us. And then we work with you until you do that. So Ann, the answer to you is that when you join the program, you got an invitation to join something called Slack. It's an online community, and you need to accept that invitation and log into Slack. And then you're able to direct message Career Coach, which we give you instructions to do. And you attach your resume as a PDF. And guess what? We review it. So any of you that have ever wondered that, if any of you out there are going, gee, I wonder if my resume is working. I wonder if the resume is the reason I'm having problems. You can sign up for Work It Daily. And you can give your resume to us, and our team will tell you exactly what's wrong with it and how to fix it. Pretty cool, right? All right, but enough on that. Let's answer some questions here. I've got my first question of the day from Celtic 745. Celtic 745, does that mean you are a Boston Celtics fan? Because we are just outside of Boston, and go Celtics. The question is, any suggestions for someone who is struggling to find an entry-level job in the media marketing world? Okay, so let's just talk entry-level jobs in general, because it doesn't matter if you're in media marketing or any industry. When you want an entry-level job, here's the problem. You go to look for these jobs, but do you ever see entry-level? No. What are they all asking for? I'm sure Celtic 745, you're going to tell me that they all ask for like 2 years of experience, right? Because this is what every company wants. They want you to have a college degree and 2 years of experience. And let me tell you why. Because they basically want you to go get enough professional experience that you can be useful to them. They don't want to train somebody straight out of college because that is, in essence, in their mind, unproductive time. They're investing in you, hoping that you may eventually provide a return on the investment. And the problem is, historically, people usually leave a job within 2 years, leave their first job within 2 years. So nobody wants that person right out of school because they feel like they're going to do all this training and investment in them and they're going to ditch them. That is what's going on, in case anyone's ever wondered that. So here you are trying to get an entry-level job. So how are you going to sell a company against all this negative bias? Here they are assuming this all about you. They don't even know you. You have to create a very targeted approach to your job search that says, these are the companies that I most admire, that I most respect because of what they do and how they do it. Not because I heard they're a great company to work for and that they're really good to their employees. That has nothing to do with it. I like this company because I think the product or the service that they provide is different, better, innovative. What they're doing is good stuff. I admire it because what I lack in experience, I make up for in passion and enthusiasm for your company. And that is the story that you have to tell via a cover letter. We call it a disruptive cover letter. It's what we teach people how to write, and your resume. And then you've got to get that in the hands of actual human beings at that company, not the online ATS. The reason most recent grads can't get an entry-level job is because they spend months and months, a lot of times the first 6 months out of school, applying online, thinking that's how job search works. It doesn't. When you apply online, you are being screened out 97% of the time. That is an accurate statistic. 97% of the time, your resume doesn't match all their little criteria, and a human eye never sees it. So for you to get that first job, you have to identify a job that they say has like 2 years experience, because that's essentially entry level. You have to go around the system, and you've got to get that story and your resume in their hands. Now, for a lot of recent grads, they say, oh my gosh, this is way too much work to get my first job. Why can't I just apply online, have someone call me, go on an interview, get a job? I know, I get it, but it doesn't work that way. The truth is, online job search is lazy job search. If you want a great job, and if you want to pick who you want to work for, and you want that awesome job that you're bragging about to all your friends, you've got to put in the extra elbow grease, like I just described. You've got to go around the system. Meanwhile, all those thousands of people applying online and not hearing anything back, you're sneaking around the side, getting your stuff in front of them. They're reading this story going, this is a really great story. This person's got a lot of energy towards our company. They like what we're doing. Let's just have a phone call. That's how you're able to get that first job. So you've really got to have that strategy. And we call it a bucket list strategy with the disruptive cover letter. And then you also need a really specific networking strategy. I'm not going to get into that right now, because I think based on what you've heard here, what you need to do is target in on those companies and start to really build that plan. Okay. And you can do it. This is how you get the jobs. But if you're just going to apply online, really, and that goes for everyone, entry level and beyond, your odds, that's lazy job search, your odds. And none of you are lazy. You wouldn't have logged in here today if you were lazy. So I know you aren't. You just need to know the right way to job search. And what I outlined is the right way to do it. Okay. All right. Awesome. Let me scroll back up here. Let's get this party started. I see lots of questions today. Great to have you all here. By the way, just a couple of quick shout outs. Hey, Sylvia. Hey, Prasad, Sandra, David, and piece of jewelry. Hey there. Let's see. David Mills is asking, do you recommend customizing a resume to each job I apply for? So that's a really good question. You will hear general advice to customize every resume. I have an issue with that in the sense that that's a lot of work for you. Now, I just got finished saying don't be lazy, but I also don't believe in doing overwork when you don't need to. So one of the things that you see when you join Work It Daily is we've built a very proprietary resume format. And what it does is the top fold, the first part of the resume, that is what you customize. And we show you how to do that. And there's very key places there that you swap out things. Very easy to do. Very easy to optimize that to match the job that you're applying to, so that when that recruiter or that hiring manager opens it up and they see this first, they go, ding, 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 ding. Oh, this person has all the skills that I need. Let me keep reading. The bottom half of the resume, the rest of the information that we have you organize, that stays consistent. It doesn't change from job to job. And so because you frame the top in a certain way, they're going to see what they want to see in the rest of the resume. So David, the answer is yes, but not to the degree that you think you need to. It's really just if you've adapted our resume template, which hopefully you have, then all you need to do is adjust that top fold. And in that, there's just a few places that you do that. Okay, good question. Hey, Dalma. Hey, Helen. Who else do we have here? Terry. Hey, Terry. Terry's got a question today. I am going on my 5th interview with a nonprofit for a director position. This is to meet the team I will be managing. Any tips on how to approach this meeting? Are 5 interviews typical? You know what, believe it or not, these days, 5 interviews is typical. And what you need to know about this is that any company that is having more than 2 to 3 interviews has had something go on that makes making this next hire a big deal. Now, this is a director level position and you have people reporting to you. So right out of the gate, this is a big deal. But my guess is, if you haven't already gotten some sort of feedback through the first 4 interviews, is that something went awry with the last person. There's something going on. There's been some reason to pay extra attention and make you go the extra mile to really earn this job. So be aware of that. The second thing is, this is the final interview where the team is signing off on you. These are the people. And even though everybody up above could choose you to be the director, if you get hired and these people below that you're meeting with don't like you, you'll be out within a year. because they can sabotage you. And I think you know that going in. So my advice to you is to really sit with these individuals and talk to each one about, how does my job as director impact you and your work specifically? And what are you looking for in a director? What is a good director to you? What is a bad director to you? You know, what am I going to need to do as a director to make you feel the most empowered and productive? And you really need to listen to everyone. And it's going to be interesting because I'm sure some of them you're going to go, yeah, that makes sense. And some of them you're going to go, no, that's not how it works, right? Because again, there's different personalities, different scenarios. So you've got to ask yourself, can I work with these people? Based on what they said they need in a director in order to support a director and believe in a director, can I do that? Can I deliver what they asked for? And that's really important because you might go back from that interview and say, you know, I can do most of that except one thing, in which case I would talk to the higher powers and say, based on what I heard, here are my concerns about becoming director. I know I need buy-in from these folks. I know I need to deliver for them. Let's talk that through. So really dig in deep, see what they're looking for in a director, see what it takes for you to be successful for them, and then evaluate that information and have some follow-up conversations to make sure that you feel that you can deliver. Okay? All right. Good luck. Good luck. Make friends. You can do it. Let's see. Hey, SA. I was looking for jobs and joined ZipRecruiter. Started getting a slew of jobs from a guy named Phil. When there was not a great job, I emailed Phil and found out Phil was a robot. Any ideas? Oh, yeah. You know what? Phil is probably a AI chatbot that ZipRecruiter has installed in order to make it feel like you have a personal person that you're talking with at ZipRecruiter when you're not. So really common trend. We're seeing it more and more, right? Especially on Facebook and other places, everybody's installing chatbots. So I think the question is, do you like it or not? If you don't, you just kind of let it go. But that's probably what's happening there. Okay. Adventures upside down. Let me see. Is that what that really says there? Hold on. Woo, lots of adventures upside down. Is it all right to have a graphically designed resume or should I have a text-only resume? I'm applying for marketing positions. Oh, gosh, this is a great question. So you need to know that a lot of online systems, the applicant tracking systems are all different. Every company uses a different type. Some can recognize graphics. Historically, most cannot. So if you save it as a PDF file, it's one thing, but they're probably not going to read it that well. I personally don't recommend it. I really recommend a text-only resume. The template that we teach at Work It Daily is text-only, and we make everybody use that format. Now, you can have a graphically designed format. Maybe you're a creative person. You feel like you need to have creative one. That can be the resume that you then follow up with and say to them, do you want to see, you know, my graphic resume? I sent through my text resume. But remember, recruiters aren't looking at the graphics. They're not evaluating your graphic capabilities and your creativity. All they're evaluating is whether or not you have the 6 or 10 skill sets they were told to look for in order to pass you on to the hiring manager. So your resume doesn't have to be pretty. It has to be functional. It has to be useful. It has to allow them in 6 seconds to figure out if you're the right person for the job. And so it's really more important that you do that. And I would encourage you for that reason and for the fact that a lot of graphical resumes can be tossed out based on the fact that the graphics don't, you know, register. They just don't understand them. It doesn't read and it gets tossed. All right. Let's see. Dario Torres. Hello. I really enjoy your videos. Thanks. I have 2 new questions. How can you describe your weaknesses when recruiters ask it? And what's a good answer to what are your long-term and short-term goals? Ooh, okay. So look, we all know that our strengths create our weaknesses. We've all heard that before. And so you don't want to go in saying that because it's pretty cliche. I think all of us can evaluate areas in our life, professional life, where maybe we didn't deliver as strongly as we could. Come on, we're all human. Let me give you one. I am lousy with paperwork. I'm lousy with it. I don't like it. It's not what I want to be doing. So what do? I push it off. And so how do I fix that? Well, I set very specific time slots. I make a date in my calendar to deal with paperwork. And then I actually reward myself. That's right. I build myself a personal incentive when I do all my paperwork by the time that it's due. I literally manage myself on that weakness. That's really what a recruiter is looking for. They want to understand that you recognize that there are just parts about you that aren't as strong, that you've figured it out, and that you've put some things in place to help offset that. So that's what you need to be putting down for weaknesses, and everybody has them. I know that you can do that. The second question about short and long-term goals. This is pretty interesting because these days, can any of us really plan out the next 20 years of our life? Not even the next 5. So what I always suggest people do, and when we're working with this huge, really cool interview prep course inside our platform, and it has like all these videos that teach you how to answer questions, especially behavioral questions. And this is a common one. Tell me about your goals in the near future and, the next 5 years. And that's a tough one. And so the advice to this, and that when I work with people and their answer, is that it should be more about an area of expertise, whether it's a skill set or industry knowledge that you realize you're passionate about, that you want to become more proficient at. See, even though we all think we're Jack and Jill of all trades and we could do a lot of different things, when a company is hiring you, it's to solve a problem and alleviate a pain. And who are we going to trust more? The generalist who has some idea, some knowledge, or the specialist? The specialist. Truthfully, all of us in our life, when we're focused on our careers, should always be thinking about what's my specialty? What problem do I solve? What pain do I alleviate? Why am I better at this than other people? What additional knowledge do I have? What additional skills and experience do I have that I've built for myself so that I am the reliable person for this? So you should be thinking about whatever job you're going after, what would that look like in 5 years? What level would you want to be at? And what is that? Is it a job title? Is it a proficiency at something? Is it getting some certifications? And articulate that to them and say, I want to be the best possible person for solving this type of problem. And so this is what I plan for myself. And this is how I see the job that you have here as supporting me in that. Because not only can I, really knock this job out of the park, but that experience I'm going to get with you is going to help me take it to the next level. And I'm going to be able to give you more value in that area as a result. Does that make sense? That's what an employer wants to hear. They want to hear about how you plan to grow yourself so that you'll be more valuable. So the investment they make in you over those 3-5 years is going to pay off for them, that they're going to get something great out of it. All right. Let's see. Hey, let's see. We've got Jesse. Jesse says, you want a job in another state, city, or country. How do you get in their network? Okay, so first of all, Jesse, I just recently did a video on this, on how to conduct a long distance job search. It's here on YouTube. So after this session today, make sure that you go and check it out, because I walk through a really detailed process of what you need to do. But the 30,000 foot view for you to understand is that you need to narrow in your job search, because they're not going to reach out to you. You're not there. It's just so easy to dismiss you because you're not physically there. So if you try to get a job before you get there, you have to figure out who you want to work for. You have to figure out how to reach out to them, go around the ATS and say, hey, I'm moving there by this date, and these are my skill sets. Can you tell me what it takes to earn an interview with you guys someday? And there's a whole process in the video where I explain how to do that, but it is really on you. Traditional job search will not work for you in any way. If you want remote, if you want long distance, you have to figure out literally who you want to work for, a targeted group of, say, 20 companies, and you have to build a whole strategy around that, which that video explains. Okay? Awesome. Let's see. Don't forget, folks, put the word question in all caps first so I can tell that you've got a question. L. Anders, hey there. Is there a way to respond when the recruiter gives me 5 words and tells me which one best describes you? Yeah, you pick the word that your gut goes with. If somebody gives you 5 words, say, that's a great question. Not one I can answer really quickly. Can I have a moment to think about it? And then think through each one and then pick it. And then what you want to say is, my gut instinct, my gut reaction was this answer. And let me tell you about the experience that popped up in my head, the life experience or the example in my life that popped up in my head that made me think that is the word, right? So give yourself a chance to breathe and think through it by setting the expectation of great question, hard question. Can I have a moment to think about it? And then walk them through why you chose that one. What life experience really popped into your vision that made you think that's the one to choose? That's what they're really looking for in that answer. Okay. Let's see. Can you elaborate on the best way to get that disruptive cover letter in the hands of employees or decision makers? Yes, I can, Kathy Lambert. I'm going to give you 2 websites to check out today. They're both free. The first one is called recruitin.net. So the word recruit, I-N, all one word, recruitin.net. This is a site that lets you put in company names and job titles, and it will give you the people's LinkedIn profiles. Yes, you heard me right. They go out and do a Google search, and they find you the LinkedIn profiles of the people that work at that particular company. And that is how you can go about reaching out, asking them to connect, do a customized connection invite. We've never met, but I'm a huge fan of your company, and your profile came up. I'm in the same type of skill set industry. I'd love to connect, right? So you do that first. The second one you can go to is something called Hunter, HUNTER.io. Now, this site will let you search for and find the actual business email addresses of people that work at certain companies. It'll let you do it for free up to a certain amount. So you can go over, take the same person's name, put it into hunter.io and see if you can get lucky and get their actual email address. So instead of having to ask for the connection on LinkedIn and then reaching out and saying, hey, I'd love to, send you my information and see if I'm a fit for the job, you can send it directly via an actual email, and that'll really get you around the system. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to tell you is that above and beyond all that, the best thing is a referral. So make sure you go into LinkedIn and see who your second line connections are to this person. Because oftentimes, if you've built up a robust network, you know someone who also knows that person, you can go to them and ask for an introduction. That's always the best way to get introduced. But if you can't do that, then you've got recruitin.net and hunter.io. Those are two tools that can help you. Okay, good luck with that. What about mature candidates, one who is seasoned? You don't hear so much about ATS and how to go around them. Yeah, I've had a lot of people. In fact, it's really funny. So inside Work It Daily, we've got thousands of members now, which is super cool. And we have all these channels. So all of our members, in addition to working with me and the team one-on-one, chat with one another in these channels, which are topics of discussion. And we've got this one called age discrimination. It's put out there. People want to talk about it. And it's a really robust conversation with everybody basically over the age of 40 in our platform. And, one of the things that we found, and people are sharing what works for them, which is really cool because they go in and say, this happened today. This is how I got around the system. And what you're going to find is that there's really a way that you have to present yourself that's different than you expected. In fact, inside our platform, there's a bonus video called Interviewing Over 40 and presenting yourself over the age of 40. And essentially what we show you is that without realizing it over time, you're presenting yourself in a way that used to work for you years ago, but it actually doesn't work for you when you're more seasoned. So you have to change your strategy. You have to recognize that by being seasoned, there's a lot of preconceived notions that you're going to be set in your ways, that you're going to want to be rigid, that you're going to be kind of a know-it-all, that you're going to have a lot of expectations out of people. And that all has to be put to rest. That really has to not come through in your actions. And so when you're going around the ATS, you have to be able to convey that. So it's important. There's a lot of nuances to it. It's something that I could probably talk about for a whole hour here. But all I can tell you is that you're wise to pick up on the fact that you're being tossed out based on all your years of experience. And the only way that you're going to get that shot is to go around the system. But even going around it, you have to be super careful in the way that you present yourself, because in your effort to say, look at me, I have all this experience and I know what to do and I'm not looking for a ton of money and it's okay, I'll take a pay cut. You're getting all frustrated while you're pushing yourself out there and saying, look at this. That actually is the wrong way to do it. It completely works against you. So you have to rethink your strategy when you go around in order for it to be successful. Okay. All right. Let's see. I've got one from Daniela. Please talk about answering, how did you get laid off from your last job? Yeah. So we have a course inside Work It Daily called Fired to Hired, because there's actually a whole journey to that. You want to find the perfect answer to explaining why you got laid off. But before you can even do it, there's almost a form of career therapy that you need to go through in order to process that experience. If you do not, nothing I tell you to say is going to work. Because your body language and your facial expressions and all these other things, these nonverbal cues, are going to tell them something different. So you're going to be delivering this answer that I crafted for you, and they're going to look at you and go, I'm not buying it. They're going to start to ask you a bunch of follow-up questions, and then boom. So it's really important that before you even get to the interview stage, if you've been laid off from a job, is to make peace with it. And what that involves is looking at what happened, being super objective, and almost writing the story out and saying, I'm going to be objective about what happened. It's something that happened. And I'm going to be objective about what I own in what happened. I have to take accountability for something, because no matter what you say, you have got to make sure included in your answer is someplace where you go, you know what? I'm going to own this. There was something I did wrong. Here's what I learned. Here's what I would never do again in that situation. If you cannot convey that with sincerity and authenticity and with peace, like, it happened, I can't take it back now, but boy, did I learn a valuable lesson, and boy, will I make sure it doesn't happen again. If there's not a piece of that in what you say, then there'll be a problem. And you might be thinking, but it was a layoff, JT. It was a layoff. It had nothing to do with me. The company cut a bunch of people. Even still, you're still feeling uncomfortable, right? You wouldn't ask that question if you were concerned. The reality is that you would own the fact that I didn't see the writing on the wall faster. I didn't recognize that I needed to be aligned with certain skill sets in the company that wouldn't be laid off. There are just things we need to own, and we can't get upset about it. It's the way life unfolds. I mean, right now, all of us are making mistakes that we don't even realize. That's life. We don't know any better until we can armchair quarterback and look at it in the rearview mirror and go, oh my gosh, that happened. And now I see what I did wrong. Every day, we're all making mistakes right now, this moment. So don't let it go. It happened, be objective, but own something in that process. And that's really what you have to deliver. But again, I'm going to just tell you that, I mean, we have an entire course on this for a reason. There is a journey that you need to take yourself through to make peace of it. So much of the time when I am, and let me just hold on, stuff's jumping up on my screen. Sorry there. So many of the times when I'm working with somebody that's lacking career confidence, it's because they got fired, they got laid off, they left a toxic job, and they just haven't made peace with the emotional aspects of what happened. You have got to work through that. And when you do, and my members will back me up because I know a bunch of them are on the call today, when you get through that, it's like something lifts off you and you realize, I can do this. I am a good professional. Okay, something happened in my life. Happens to everybody. Mistakes happen. I learned from it. I'm a better professional now, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to rule the world. And then all of a sudden, I've had so many people go through the process and they get to the interview and they're like waiting for the question because they're ready. They are so ready to answer. Why were you laid off? Why were you let go? Why were you fired? And it doesn't come up. And they're like, why didn't it come up? And I said, it didn't come up because you weren't giving all this body language that said, ask me this question that I can't answer. You were giving the body language of, I want this job. I'm ready. And that you cannot understand or underestimate how much of a big deal that is. And it's really true. So if you're feeling, any of you out there that are feeling that way or lacking career confidence, you need some help. You really need to get through that right now. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I left this question in the Slack platform, but I would like to know what steps to take to identify legitimate recruiters. I'm afraid I was a victim of a scam. Oh gosh. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of that right now. So folks, anytime you work with any recruiter, what's your first step? Look them up on LinkedIn. Any legitimate recruiter in the workplace right now, any legitimate recruiter is on LinkedIn. They're all on LinkedIn. It's their primary tool for sourcing. If you cannot find a recruiter with a full bio, I'm talking a picture, information that you can really proof and review, that is suspect. Okay. Always, always, always check it out. That is the simple and best way to do that, David. I'm so sorry if that happened to you, but you absolutely do. If you can't find them, don't bother. Do not bother. All right, Helen. Hey, Helen. What about mature? Oh, I answered that one. Sorry, got it. Sun Karen. Am I saying that right? Sun Karen. How do you apply for jobs outside of your local area? Most companies don't want to hire locally. Oh, okay. So I did mention that earlier. Somebody asked that earlier. You probably just jumped on. And my answer is check out the video I did on long distance job search. It's here on YouTube, free to watch. Long distance job search. I bet my chatmate here will pop it in there for you. That will answer all the questions for you. All right. Okay. Matt. Hey, Matt Kugler. I'd like to work for myself, but I need a bridge job to support me while I build my business. How do you recommend looking for a bridge job versus a long-term position? Oh my gosh, great question. That's how I started my business, Matt. Absolutely. So when I decided that I wanted to build the business, I became a consultant. The best thing for you to do is to be an independent consultant. First of all, that makes you a business owner. You are a business of one at that point. But it also, the flexibility that it provides you by taking contract work is really, really important. Now, how do you do that? Well, I personally went back and looked at my former employees and said to my former employers, what's a skill set of mine? What's a specialty, pain, right? Problem solve that I could do for you on a contract basis that you need help with, that you don't want to pay a full-time person for. And that's how I got my consulting gigs. That was how I started. And then from there, I was able to get referrals to other consulting gigs. And I literally did that. Just so you all know, the backstory, I left corporate America back in 2001. I consulted all the way through until we launched the company officially in late 2008, early 2009. And then we still do some consulting as a result because you just never want to give that up. And that's kind of the other nice piece about it, Matt, is that building up that consulting business, you can always kind of keep it going and have those clients to go back to, which is a nice thing. So that is my advice to you. Becky Lutz. Hello, Becky. Is there a resource to find a potential companies that are similar in my field of interest? It's easy to find the big companies, but the mid-size and small ones are a mystery. Oh my gosh, Becky, I am with you on this. In fact, I was talking to some executives at Glassdoor, and this was the number one thing I asked them to build at Glassdoor. I said, here you are. You have this amazing platform, all this information about these employers, but I can't search them by industry. I can only search them by company name. Complete and total bummer, right? Complete and total bummer. So really what I have people do in the meantime is work it backwards. Go to a site like Glassdoor and put in job titles that match what you are looking for, right? So put in different job titles and maybe keywords like an industry, see what comes up for job postings and check the companies out. That's a great way for you to figure that out. And you can do that same thing on LinkedIn. But I just like Glassdoor because of all that additional information that you get so you can really get to know the company better. They don't have that on LinkedIn like they do on Glassdoor. So you just got to backtrack it for now. But let me tell you something, the day one of these companies comes up with that, oh my gosh, I will be singing it from the rooftops. I promise you, I'll be the first to know, and I'll be all over how to use it. I'll do tutorials, everything, because I agree with you. It's probably one of the most important things we could have. And think about it. We've never really asked for that as job seekers because up until very recently, the thought process was, I need a job. Okay, let me go see what's available, which is like going to the used car lot and having to pick from a bunch of jalopies. Now, sites like Work It Daily are teaching you to take control and say, who do I want to work for? And so in order to do that, you have to go a whole different way, a whole different strategy, right? So companies have just never built that tool for us yet, but I feel like someone's going to invent it soon, and hopefully it'll be Glassdoor. All right, let's see here. What else do I have? As a seasoned person, do you recommend a resume or CV developed background in training and facilitation as well as curriculum development? Courses back. Okay, Helen, I'm not sure I'm understanding that question 100%. I am going to tell you this because one thing I think is important for seasoned professionals, a lot of them make the mistake of creating what we call a functional resume. They go, oh, JT, I've got so much experience and some of it doesn't relate to what I want to do today. So what I want to do is put all my functional experience up front and then put the rest of it later. Do not do that. Do not. Recruiters hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it because they have been tasked with figuring out, do you have the skills and what's your chronological order of work history? And when you mess with the chronological order, you really tick them off. So the important thing, again, this is why we built a template in Work It Daily. The top fold has the key skill sets and information that they look for in 6 seconds. Check, 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 check. And then the chronological work history and some other key elements come in after that so that they can check that very quickly as well. So really, seasoned pros, I got to tell you, you have to be careful. And the other thing I'm going to tell people to be careful that are seasoned pros is try not to make your resume too long. It completely works against you. It makes you look like you're trying too hard. Anytime you have too much text and too many bullet points and too much information, it screams, I'm trying to prove to you that I have what I need. There's something wrong with me. Yes, that is really the case. When you're a seasoned professional, you have a fine balance of information that goes on a resume. There needs to be enough information to prove you have the experience, but not so much information that you're overwhelming the reader. You want them to read it and go, this is pretty good. I need more info. They know that not everything's on there. They know that you've got lots of experience, but when you try to put everything you've ever done on a resume, it completely works against you. They don't read it and they think something's wrong with you. Very, very true. So you've really got to have the right resume when you're a seasoned pro. It's even more important than when you're younger. Let's see. Again, put question in all caps, folks, or I can't see it. Diana, what if you really have an emotional connection with the company? You don't have an emotional connection to the company you want to apply for. So I guess my first question, Diana, is why are you applying? Why are you applying to a company that you have no emotional connection to? That's a concern to me. I think my answer to you is that you need to do more homework on this company in order to feel that connection. And one of the things I would suggest you do is find somebody that does a job similar to the one that you're interested in, reach out and ask them to connect on LinkedIn and ask if they'll do an info interview with you. Say, I'm really intrigued by the company, but I'd like to hear about what it's like to work there. I'd like to hear about why you love it and how do you feel that you're being successful in your career there, right? People love to talk about themselves. And if you ask enough people, not every person's going to agree to chat with you, but all it takes is one. And then you can have one perspective and say, okay, is there something intriguing there? Am I getting excited? Because folks, you shouldn't apply to companies that you don't feel a connection to. If you aren't excited about the work that you're going to be doing, you're not going to do your best job. And you need to do your best job in order to wow them and impress them and move your career forward. So you've got to do more homework until you feel that connection. Okay? Great question, by the way. Glad you asked it. L. Anders says, what about a hybrid for mature applicants? Nope. I'm telling you right now, no hybrid resumes. That's a question about resumes. And I am telling you, you have to believe me. You cannot do the hybrid. It does not work. All right. Kay says, how do you deal with a recruiter that promised to get back to you, but did not and won't return calls? I think this is open territory to contact the company directly. Okay. So usually when a recruiter goes silent on you, it means that they're not interested anymore. And by silent, I mean, 3 or 4 weeks. So if you're saying that they've gone silent on you and it's been 5 days, give it a break. You got to give them a little bit of time, right? A day in your world feels like a year. A day in their world feels like a minute. So you've got to give them more breather. They're probably trying to hear back from a hiring manager. Hiring manager's on vacation this summer. Stuff's going on. So really, it has to be 3 or 4 weeks. You've called, 4 times, something like that, not heard. That's when you call it quits. Is it open territory? Yes. But I think at that point, what I would suggest you do is more of an info gathering phase. I would try to find a couple people that work at the company, ask them to connect. And I wouldn't say, hey, there's a position open and I tried to connect with your recruiter and it didn't work out. I would say, hey, I see that you do hire for my types of skills. I'd love to learn more about what you think it takes to earn a job there someday. You've been there for a couple of years. I'd love to learn more. I really wouldn't go too aggressive. You need to gain more information and trust amongst those folks. And then it would be logical to say, what's the best way to get on your radar for future opportunities? Because trying to directly go around the recruiter and that process for that particular job, that will get back to the recruiter and the recruiter will blacklist you. All right. So you got to be really careful there. Let's see. Mike says, I'm currently a college student looking for an internship for a corporate position, but my experience is all retail related. Do recruiters care? No, you know what, Mike, first of all, awesome that you're a college student looking for an internship and on this channel. Smart guy. Second is they don't care about the retail experience. What they care about, again, is that do you have the enthusiasm for their company and the work that you'd be doing? So, we work with a lot of recent grads and college students inside Work It Daily. And the key to that is that disruptive cover letter, because your experience and your resume needs to be well done, needs to be error proof, pretty much means nothing to them, right? So where are you going to differentiate yourself? You're going to differentiate yourself in the story of why am I totally psyched to intern at this company? And it shouldn't be because you heard they've got a ping pong table or this or that, which I know you never would. But what you have to say is, let me tell you about a time in my life, even I'm only 21 years old, but let me tell you about a time in my life where I learned what you do is so cool and so important and so powerful. That is the story that every company wants to hear when they're hiring an intern. They want to know that intern, really drinks the Kool-Aid. And so you've got to prepare that story and share it in a way. And that's what they want to know, because then they know you're going to bounce out of bed every day and go to that job with enthusiasm. That's all they're looking for at that phase. So that's what you've got to work on. And when you nail that, it's amazing. I love watching that, because then when interns get the hang of it and they start writing disruptive cover letters, they just have way too much fun, because they write these amazing creative stories, send them to these recruiters, and the recruiters are like, where have you been? I've seen 1,000 college students write these horrible things. And who are you? And that has all this passion for our company? Get your butt in here, And the great thing about internships is a very high percentage of them turn into full-time job offers. So that's the other reason you should find companies you love, tell the story why you love them, and make that connection. All right. So good for you. Love having you here. Come back again. Let's see. How to network on LinkedIn. Is there a better way to approach people? Okay, so that would be a whole session in itself. I mean, to give you an idea, we have an entire course inside Work It Daily on networking that's multiple videos and modules, right? LinkedIn is a virtual cocktail party. And so you have to think about on LinkedIn, everything that you would do at a virtual cocktail party or at an in-person networking event or an in-person cocktail party, everything that you would do to network successfully, you have to recreate in the online form. And there are steps to that, figuring out which group of people to walk up to and talk to at the cocktail party, figuring out how to start a conversation and hold it with that individual back and forth, figuring out how to plan the next step so that you can take that relationship, to maybe a coffee or a meeting or something like that. Those same activities happen on LinkedIn. And the number one mistake that people make is they think they can circumvent all that on LinkedIn and go straight for the ask. I see it every day. I probably get on LinkedIn 30 requests to connect every day, probably more, but a good number of them are, hey, JT, want to connect with you and send you my resume so you can tell me what's wrong with it. Do you think I accept those connection requests? Right? That's somebody who is literally trying to circumvent the entire relationship and just get something from me. So the most important thing to learn on LinkedIn is how to give before you ask. And again, there's a dance and steps involved in that. So it's important to research that. You can join our program. We can walk you through it, but there is a lot of steps to it. The best advice I can give is please don't circumvent that. Really step back and think about, what would I do in a face-to-face situation? How do I recreate that in the online situation? All right. Question from Demetria. Hello, Demetria. Are you likely to be kicked out of the automated resume process because of your lack of degree requirements education, even though you have lots of industry experience? The answer is yes, if the company requires a degree. If in their requirements in the job description, it says, a degree is preferred or required, you will be tossed. Yeah, because there'll be plenty of people with a degree. So you are a candidate, Demetria, for going around the system. We work with people like you all the time. If you don't have a degree and all these jobs you want require a degree, but you've got all this work experience instead, the only way you're going to do that is if you are able to get your story in front of the hiring manager. So the hiring manager goes, oh yeah, Demetria has plenty of experience. That's like the degree. Let's bring this person in for an interview. That is the only way that will work. And so you have to know how to network, how to present yourself, and how to get them to see that. And it can be done, right? Again, no lazy job seekers here. It does not work. We have got to go around the ATS and we have to do it. But let me tell you, it pays off big time. All right. Hey, Rochelle, how do you get started networking? I want to move to North Carolina and it's remote. I have such an aversion and I need to get started. Again, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you, go over and watch the live or the free video we have here on YouTube. I did a video on long distance job search. A lot of questions around that today. So a lot of people want to relocate. Good for you. But there is a whole methodology you need to follow and it is a lot of steps. So that video walks you through it and you can watch that. Let's see. Hey, James Johnson. I feel I'm being underestimated and undervalued by recruiters. Last year I made over 100,000, but most recruiters look at me like I made 20K. Well, then you were talking to the wrong recruiters, James. I think my question to you is, have you identified what companies you want to work for that you know will pay you what you're looking for? And have you reached out to them? Once again, if you are just waiting around for recruiters to call you, folks, you're going to get a lot of recruiters looking to put you in jobs that you're not a fit for. Proactive job search. Folks, you are a business of one. Okay, so there's two types of businesses. There are reactive businesses where they just sit there. Whatever customers come in are the customers they get. And you may not like those customers. Proactive, go out and target who their ideal customer is. They build materials, they market to them, they get to know them, they network with them, and they close the deal. You want to be that proactive business of one, James. You need to figure out who would pay you, who would value your skills, and you need to go introduce yourself and put you in the path of them. We all have to put ourselves in the path of the employers that we want to work for. It is up to us to do that. The ATS will not do that. And again, you're going to get those recruiters that just want to pay you nothing and put you in a job. You've got to go all the way around that. The good jobs you're looking for most of the time are not posted online, right? You got to go around them and you've got to prove yourself for them because they've got a lot of competition. Great question. Let's see. What else do we have here? Questions for standing out in a group interview. Yes, I see that we're posting a lot of videos on that. Folks, I'm just going to stop here really quick before I go back to answering questions and say, if this is your first time on our channel, take some time to check out some of the awesome groups of videos we have. We have playlists all around these. You're going to get a lot of valuable information here. The other thing that I'm just going to tell you is now's my time. This whole free office hours is sponsored by our company, Work It Daily. And what we do is career coach you. So if you like what's happening right now, this whole responding to your questions, if you would like to be able to get every question you have whenever you have it answered, that is what we do. You sign up for a monthly subscription, no setup fees, cancel anytime. You get access to way more video tutorials than what we have on YouTube, all in a logical process that you can follow. And you get access to our coaches via our Slack channel and all our other members. So you can be doing this the whole time, really speeding up your job search and getting your roadblocks removed. So I hope everybody's going to check it out. I know that my team is putting a special offer in the feed for you. Check it out. You're going to save some serious money on the monthly subscription if you use that right now. And it's good for today because you're watching office hours. All right. So check that out. Okay. So back to the question to standing out in a group interview. So when you're in a group interview, the reason they're doing that is to try to see how well you do in group dynamics. Otherwise they wouldn't bother. So they want to see how you build consensus, how you, balance yourself. It's a lot around the subject of emotional intelligence. So if you haven't read up on emotional intelligence, I strongly encourage that you do that because what they're looking for you is to not be the most outspoken person. They're not looking for you to dominate, but they're also not looking for you to be a wallflower. They're looking, do you know how to present yourself, engage, establish yourself, brand yourself amongst a group of people without being overbearing, right? Delivering yourself in the right way. So it's not about standing out. It's about defining yourself in that time frame in a way that makes you feel comfortable and that they're comfortable with you. Okay, so that's really, really important for you to do. And it's about listening. It's about answering questions. We teach something called the Experience, Learn, and Grow model, the ELG. And that is how you answer questions in a group interview. And by doing so, it allows you to share and validate your experience and your accomplishments without sounding like you're bragging. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make in a group interview. They brag. They look, the way they answer. So you have to be really careful in those interviews to explain yourself in a way that just comes off very natural. And so I would say if you can study up on that, that's probably the single best thing that you can do. Okay. Awesome. I have found the name of an internal recruiter for a company I want to work for. My question is, how do I reach out to this person, circumvent the system without appearing disrespectful? So again, if you go back and we've got this is recording, so you can go back and watch it. Earlier in the session, I talked about using two tools, recruitin.net and hunter.io, locate the person, email them directly. And then what you have to do is email that person a disruptive cover letter. You want to tell them the story of why you are so passionate about what the company does, why you really believe in the company and what they do, and what would it take to earn an opportunity to interview there. That's what you close with, right? Because you've got to show them that you're part of their tribe, that you really get them. That's going to get their interest for them to check out your LinkedIn profile and to check out your resume. And, trust me, recruiters love it when somebody comes with a great story about, hey, here's the story of why I'm absolutely crazy about your company. This is how I know what you guys do is super important. That's what they want to know because they're going to be able to turn around and sell that to the hiring manager. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with you reaching out to them. You just need to tell the right story. Really important that you do that. All right. So folks, I've only got a few more minutes here. I'm only going to go for an hour today. I know we started a little late. Usually I only go for 30 minutes, but I wanted to make up for that. A couple more questions I can take for today. When should you follow up on an interview? Kayla Larson asks. And the answer to that is usually they tell you in the interview, Kayla, like, hey, we're going to be interviewing a few more people. You should hear from us in a week. Moment the week passes, you should follow up. If they didn't give you a time frame and you didn't ask for one, which by the way, next time ask, you can always say, what are the next steps in the process? And is it okay for me to follow up with you? And if so, when, right? That's what you should ask next time. But if you didn't ask that, I would say 1 full week, 5 business days after the interview is when you should follow up. Just never follow up on a Monday. Folks, never, ever follow up on a Monday. Mondays are when people are coming off the weekend. They've got the weekend flu. We call it the weekend flu, the morning blues. And they don't want to deal with that. So wait till a Tuesday. And then you can email and say, I just wanted to be proactive and see if there was anything else I can do to further my candidacy. That's all you need to do and see what they say. All right. Good luck. Ivan, how do you get comfortable talking into the camera via Skype online interviews? I know practice makes perfect, but still kind of weird. Any tips? Yeah, you know what? I have to tell you, Ivan, I agree. Even after this many years of talking into a camera, it's hard, right? And when Skype, your natural thing is to want to look at the person. So then you're looking down. But I just think over time you realize it's more important for them to see me and smile. You almost have to imagine you're on the phone instead. Right? That they're not really there, that you can't really see them. And instead I'm on the phone, but I need to look into a mirror, which is your camera. And I need to see myself smiling and engaging. So I find if I just think of it more of my only goal is to listen to them and not look at them. It's a phone call, not a video call. It goes more smoothly. Just my tip. All right. 2 more questions. Gent Trizzle says, what are some tips for working with or finding good contract recruiters or a headhunter? Oof, yeah. So only 3% of all jobs are filled by headhunters or recruiters. Most of them are not going to bother with you unless you're making quite a bit of money because the way they get paid is they get about 20 to 30% of your annual salary. So finding the good ones is tough. I would say do some Google searching online. Try to find some of the biggest and most reputable ones in your area. And then I would call up and find out how they go about sourcing their candidates. But I would not put a lot of faith or effort into finding a headhunter. If you come across a good one, yes, but nobody should build, and I'm not saying that you are, but nobody should build a strategy around, I'm going to get my next job by using a headhunter because it is slim to none that will ever work for you. Most often, what happens is that a headhunter finds you. So a better strategy for you is to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is super well optimized for headhunters and that your resume is ready to go too, because they're going to go and look for you on LinkedIn. And I am amazed at the number of people that do not have their LinkedIn profiles properly optimized. There is a science, folks, to LinkedIn optimization. You need to have very specific things in your headline, in your summary, in your work history for starters. And a lot of people don't know that. So if you don't get some help with that, it's probably the 2 biggest things that we do inside Work It Daily is help people optimize their LinkedIn profile and their resume right out of the gate. Then after that, it's cover letters. We look at everybody's cover letters before they're sending them out, and then interview prep, just so you know. So as a result, I literally look personally at hundreds of resumes and LinkedIn profiles every single week and critique them. And I'm shocked at how many people don't know how to optimize their profile, but Then once they come in, we teach them and it's all good. So it's a game changer, folks. I mean, I've had people inside Work It Daily literally post, you know how you can see the activity level on your LinkedIn profile? People post their graphs before and after inside our program. And you just watch like here and then like that. And it's because you have to have your profile optimized. LinkedIn is a search platform. It's like Google, but for all professional people. If you aren't built properly, you will not get found. Okay. So again, we've got a lot of free videos if you're interested in that here on LinkedIn as well, but you really got to get help with that. Okay. So let's see. All right. I'm going to wrap it up here. I will take this last one because Julie's got her 4th interview with a company she wants to work for. Can you give me a quick tip advice on thank you notes or other strategies? Julie, my advice to you is to send a thank you note to every single person you met with in the 4th interview. Please do not try to sell yourself. You are in the 4th interview. Please don't sit there and write an epic novel about why you think you're qualified. They know that. What they want to see is a nice personal note. Hey, it was so much fun meeting and talking with you. I love chatting about this with you. I am really hoping I move forward in this process. No matter what, though, it was an honor and a privilege to meet with you and to go through this experience. And make sure that you write a different email, just like that, but a different email for all the people you met with. Because guess what? They forward them to another. So if you write one generic email and you send it to all 4 people, it just kind of looks like you didn't make the effort. At this point, personalize each one, keep it positive, fun, love chatting with you about this. I am so hoping I move forward. No matter what, though, thanks for the honor, and that's it. Go for it, Julie. Come back and let us know if you got it. All right. So before I wind up here, I just want to say thank you. The questions are always amazing. You know that we do this every week when we can. So we'll be back here next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendar. The easiest way to mark your calendar, folks, is to follow us. So hit the follow button, hit the little bell, and it'll notify you, and then you can come and get your questions answered. But even better, the whole reason we love to do this is to show you what you could be doing. If you need help in your career, you could be doing this right now inside our private Slack community when you become a member, whenever you want. And I know my members are online today and they will vouch for us. So, hey, you came here today, pat yourself on the back. You invested an hour in your career. That is awesome. Do more of that. Why do we say work it daily? Because if you want to get really great in your career, if you want to achieve what you want to achieve, you have to work it daily. And there's a whole bunch of stuff about you and your profession and the things that you need to know that you don't know. And so get some help. We have dentists, doctors, lawyers, accountants, personal trainers in our life. Who is coaching you in your career? Pro athletes have coaches. Executives all have coaches. Who is coaching you? You need a coach, whether it's us at Work It Daily, whether you come join us today or someone else. Please give yourself the gift of coaching to take your game up, because that's how you're going to achieve what you want. And you've got to do it every single day. Not a ton of time, but just work it every single day and you'll get results. Anything you've ever succeeded in your life, I guarantee you're going to tell me part of the equation was that you were consistent, that you worked it daily. Okay, so there's my pep talk. Thank you, everyone. It was super fun hanging out with you today. I love chatting with you all. And I know my members know how much I love working with them as well. So until next time, just remember, if you want to win, you got to work it daily. Okay? All right. Take care, everyone. Love chatting with you. Bye-bye.